Hello, and welcome to POV, the Portland Ovations podcast. I'm Caitlin Manfrey, Director of Community Programs and Partnerships. And today I'm joined by pianist Miki Sawada, who will be in Maine very soon to kick off Ovations 24-25 season with a free outdoor concert as part of her Gather Here series. Through her signature project, Gather Here, that's H-E-A-R, Miki is traveling the country state by state with a piano and a van to perform in community gathering spaces instead of concert halls. Miki's mission is to connect with Americans across socioeconomic and political boundaries through music, and Gather Here attempts to find what unites us as humans in a nation of deep divide. Miki has given more than 80 free concerts as part of this program in Alaska, West Virginia, Massachusetts, Utah, Louisiana, and Alabama, very often in rural communities where no live classical music is available. When not trekking around with her own piano, Miki enjoys a career of solo and chamber music. She recently made her solo debut with the North Mississippi Symphony Orchestra and Portland Columbia Symphony in the other Portland in Oregon. In the past, Miki has been featured at venues and occasions such as Weil Hall at Carnegie Hall, Helsinki Music Center, the Arctic Philharmonic in Norway, Joe's Pub at the Public Theater, Chameleon Arts Ensemble in Boston, Toronto Summer Music Festival, Music on Main in Vancouver, and on and on. There was quite a list. Her 2021 debut album, A Kind of Mirror, is a 5-movement electro-acoustic work written for her by Brendan Randall Myers that takes inspiration from long-distance running, of which she is an active practitioner. Miki lives in Boston and serves as a summer faculty member at the Heifetz Institute in Virginia. I hope I got all of that right. She will be joining us on Saturday, September 28th at 2 p.m. in Congress Square Park in Portland. Thanks. We are really grateful to our generous hosts, the Friends of Congress Square Park, for helping us get this concert going. It's a free event. There's no registration required, though we encourage you to RSVP on our website. You can sign up for free email updates, and we'll let you know if anything changes due to weather. There will be ASL provided, and the venue is fully accessible. We encourage folks to bring chairs, though there's seating provided all over the park. And I think that's it. We'll talk a lot more about what folks can expect from the concert, but I just wanted to bring Miki in. So welcome. Thanks so much for being here. And please introduce your other companion who's there with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, it's so good to be here. Thanks for the introduction. That was my dog, Shakira, who is quite needy. She wanted to be on the podcast.
Amazing. So I wanted to just start off. Can you tell us? I know I gave a brief intro, but what is Gather Here? How did it start for you? What inspired this project? Yeah.
Oh, so many things. So I have a pretty typical background in classical music. I went to conservatory, I went to grad school for music, and was starting out in the pretty standard classical concert circuit. But I always had this nagging feeling at the back of my mind, when I went to a concert hall and I looked around me, and either sometimes there's not that many people there, or it tends to be the same kind of demographic across different concerts. And I just thought, also at the time I was doing a lot of traveling, and I was just thinking about oh, there are so many different kinds of people that I encounter when I'm traveling, or even where I'm living. But these people aren't coming to the classical concerts. And why is that? Is it that people, maybe they don't like classical music? I don't know. I've never played outside a concert hall, so I didn't know. And yeah, I just really liked imagining what could be instead of what I was seeing immediately around me in a kind of sheltered atmosphere. And I also kind of became more aware of the world around me as I was growing up. And I'm an immigrant here in the States. And, when Donald Trump was elected in 2016, it was just a wake-up call for me to realize that I actually didn't know anything about this country. I wasn't expecting that. And that just showed what a sheltered life I was living. So then I kind of started putting 2 and 2 together. Basically, the week of the election, I was like, well, maybe this is my time to take classical music outside of where I'm comfortable and use that as an excuse to go to places in this country where I feel I don't know, I don't know these people. I don't know how they live. I don't know how they think. And maybe through music, we can have a positive experience together and share something that's positive and uplifting And I thought that like that kind of personal connection with people that you might be almost scared of was like really important in that moment when the tide was just all about like avoiding the people on the other side and being hostile. So yeah, that's what I did. So I started in 2017 and still doing it. It's still relevant today.
Yeah. Can I ask, so where did you get the piano that you travel with? How does that work? Can you explain that a little bit for our
It's
listeners?
pretty complicated. Sometimes I get it at the place I'm traveling to. So like my first tour was in Alaska. And like the very first partners who were on board this project was Classic Pianos, who is a West Coast piano manufacturer, piano dealer. And they have a store in Alaska. And they were like, sure, you can take this piano. So they lent it to me. And now Gather Here owns an instrument. So if it's like a concert on the East Coast, I can bring it. So I'll bring it to Portland to some of our events.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, Congress Square Park, we can bring a real piano,
Yes.
which will be not a first for Gather Here, but really, really rare. And so I really appreciate it. You know, like it's such a treat for me to get to play on a real instrument where I like truly get to express myself.
Cool. Yes, we're very excited. Plan right now is to have a 9-foot Steinway for you in the park. So
Above and
we're
beyond.
excited. Yeah. So this is really, really fascinating. And I know from the list of places you've been as, far afield as Alaska, but then you've been down to the deep South, Alabama. What's of all of these places and spaces? I know you try to go into non-traditional venues, right? You're not playing the concert halls. You're playing, what kinds of spaces do you end up playing in?
Everywhere. I've played in a commune. That was maybe the most interesting in West Virginia. There are a lot of communes in West Virginia. Like people decide to move there in the 70s and 80s because there's just a lot of land.
Yep.
And yeah, everything like bars, cafes, parks, even like outside an Ace hardware store was a cool one in Louisiana because, it was just like a tiny town in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the day. And I was like, where are the people? And like everyone is working class and they're going to the hardware store to get whatever they need for their work during the day. So that was cool. So I just try to go wherever, people are naturally going to or they like to hang out, like cafes.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, so Gather Here Portland, the stop that you're making with us, is the beginning of a statewide tour that you're doing. Can you talk a little bit about kind of where you'll be and what are some of the other spaces that you, at least at this point, I know you're still working on all the details, but where folks might be able to find you?
Yeah, Maine is a little tough for this project because there is already so much art and classical music.
Yeah.
Like half of my classical music friends right now are in Maine because there are all these summer music festivals, like
yes,
so many. So, Gather Here's mission is to bring it classical music where it's not readily available. So that had me digging into basically the lowest income counties of the state. So like Washington, Hancock, Aroostook. I don't know. I don't exactly know how to say all these names.
Yeah, no, you got it.
Yeah, those counties. So immediately after Portland, I go to Dover Foxcroft the next day, and they have a really vibrant little community theater where they do like movies and live music, and they have a youth theater program and no classical music. So that's kind of like a perfect first spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also partnering with AMHC, which is a big organization that provides a lot of services like domestic abuse, substance abuse, mental illness, all sorts of stuff. And so they are going to be the ones presenting me in some of these counties.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Have you been to Maine before? Have you yourself
Yeah, I've done a lot of like music festivals.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Maine. I love Portland. I mean, everyone loves Portland, but like this project is really cool for me because I really get to know like who are the people who live in this place and how do they live, and it's different from a tourist kind of view where it's like food, which is great.
Right.
Yes,
There's a whole state
yeah.
out here that is,
Yeah.
there's a lot going on. So that's great. That's so exciting that you're bringing this program there. The program here in Portland, you talk a little bit about how you choose a program and kind of how you're structuring the one that will be performed here?
Yeah, so I guess the three main things are that I curate a program that's specific to a place and specific to the time that we are living in, and something that involves audience participation. For me, it's really important that classical music isn't presented as a museum piece, which it so often can be, because, we want to like listen with respect and be really quiet, and the performers on the stage, and we have this like reverence, which I understand why people like to do that. But I think there's also a different way of interacting with classical music, which is like really like in your body, and everyone is participating in some way or another. So those three things. So the location, I picked music that's inspired by the ocean and trees, nature. Some really, really beautiful things. A lot of pieces that are new to me. So I've been working really hard.
That's exciting.
Getting it ready.
Yeah.
And then the time we'll be living in at the time of the performance, which will be fall 2024, which is like a lot is already happening in this country with the presidential elections. Every day something new is happening.
Yes.
And I think especially at that point, it's going to be really heightened. And I think I want to reflect on, what does it mean to be living in America in 2024? Yeah. So I have a piece by Huang Guo, who is a Chinese composer based in New York. And it's a piece called Meditation on America the Beautiful. So it kind of deconstructs the song America the Beautiful and turns it into this minimalist, meditative piece. And the musicians from Listen Up, which is an organization in Portland. Do you want to tell them?
Sure, yeah. So one of the really exciting things about Miki and her program is that it goes beyond just presenting her as an artist, as a solo artist. We have gotten to really explore some exciting new community partnerships and connections through this program, which is really cool. So prior to the free concert in Congress Square on Saturday, the 28th of September, in the days leading up to it, Miki will be playing some, for lack of a better word, private concerts for some community partner organizations. Preble Street, we're talking with Long Creek Youth Development Center, and we've been working with the folks at Listen Up, which is part of Creative Trails, a program for adults with intellectual disabilities who are musicians themselves in their own right and artists. So some of those musicians will be rehearsing with Miki on one of her pieces and performing as part of the concert in Congress Square Park. And the art department, which is the visual arts component of their day program, will also be, I believe, creating a piece of fabric art that is also inspired by Miki's piece and will be on display during the concert, which we're really excited about. So there'll be a handful of musicians playing not necessarily classical instruments. Do you remember what they're? Yeah,
there's keyboard, like electric bass, some kind of wind, I forget what, but they sound great. And so they'll be joining me on that piece based on America the Beautiful. And some other pieces. But the audience participation component, I'll keep it mostly a secret just because I haven't hashed out all the details. This part of the puzzle always comes to me last, because as I'm learning the program musically. And I'm like, while I'm practicing, I'm envisioning how the event will go. And I'm trying to take in like what's happening in the world around me and just like synthesizing all of that and thinking about like what would be a fun way for the audience to have a say in the program. It'll involve note cards, which are usually a staple of Gather Here concerts in some way or shape. And there will be some fun prompts for the audience to participate.
Fantastic. Yes, I was going to ask, like, what can audiences expect and how are they participating? So this is great. I know you like to involve them. It's not I think it's exciting that it's not just a passive experience. Certainly folks can come and listen and enjoy the music, but we invite them to participate in some really nice structured ways. So that's great. So in addition to being a pianist, as discussed earlier, you're an ultramarathon runner and a running coach, right?
Yes. Portland is a pretty active city, right?
Yeah. Oh, and Portland Ovations production manager Eric Hager is an avid. He's part of the Maine Marathon. He does races all over the state. So I that's like he keeps reminding us of that exciting fact about you as we talk about it. So how have you found that these two like art forms in their own right complement each other? So do you and clearly, as I mentioned earlier, your album was inspired by, so could you just talk a little bit about the kind of how you explored that relationship in your life?
Yeah, I mean, on a day-to-day basis, the kind of discipline you need for both of those things are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to show up every day of the week, 6 days a week. And like that incremental progress, which you might not even see day to day, shows up a year later, 5 years later, 10 years later. That's really cool to me.
Yeah.
Especially like with running, it's easier to see the progress, right? Because it comes down to numbers in a way that music doesn't. I can think that something sounds better, but maybe it doesn't. Like who's to say? So with running, it's really nice. It keeps me grounded. Mm-hmm. I think if it were just music, I would start to go a little crazy, doubting if what I'm doing is right or wrong. Yeah. But so there's that like daily practice aspect. And then when I'm traveling, like running is a really great way to get to know a place, like feel the land through your feet, especially because I mostly do trail running. So, being in nature, taking in the specific environment, like the specific trees, and all of that, like really lets you connect with the land in a way that you can't by driving. Yeah. So tour incorporates a lot of running usually. Cool. And I try to involve and get some footage of that and like include that in my films when I make them. And you also get to know people when you're running. Yeah. Whoever you run into.
Yeah. That's so cool. And just since you mentioned it, there are a handful of films about the Gather Here program, right, that are on your website, and you have. Can you just tell us a little bit about those and how they came to be?
Yeah, Gather Here Alaska was the very first one. It's pretty short. There's no like dramatic trajectory or anything. It's just was more of like a promo video for the project. People really like that one. It's a great like 2-minute overview of the organization. Yeah. Gather Here Utah, yes, was like our first real production. It's about a 15-minute short film. And I mostly self-filmed it, and it was produced by Joel Wolpert, who somehow magically, cohesively put together something. But yeah, I was getting a lot of footage of the land because I was in Utah, and that's just such a magical place. And it, like, while I was touring and while I was filming, I didn't know what the story would be about, but it became very much about like, whose land is this? Who does it belong to? It really surprisingly became about me and my Japanese heritage, because I came across a Japanese internment campsite and like just by chance ended up performing at one of them because it had been turned into a community center. Wow. And yeah, it was about that. It's about the land. It's about the land and what does it mean for Americans. And then Gather Here, Louisiana is totally different. That was a crazy thing I did where I didn't make any sort of itinerary for the tour, and I just packed up a piano and just would unload it wherever I felt like I could gather some people to listen. And so that was my way to like get to know a state where I felt like I just had no idea where to even begin. So I don't even know like how I would begin to plan.
Cool. That's really cool. Yes, I invite audience members who are curious to check those out there on gatherhere.com. Gatherhere.com. Hear. Fantastic. Miki, is there anything else you think audiences need to know before they come to a Gather Here performance?
No, I'm just so excited because like Congress Square Park is an amazing place. I've been following them on Instagram and just like the range of programming there and like how many people they get to come through, and it's just so cool. But I think this concert will be also something very different. And it'll be a new experience for people who have been to the park, and maybe people who haven't been will want to come for the first time and discover it. And I think it's also an occasion to maybe, sit next to someone that you usually wouldn't interact with in town otherwise. So yeah, I'm really looking forward.
That's great. Well, we're really looking forward to having you with us. And thank you so much for being here today. You can stay connected with Gather Here Tour by following on social media at gather_here, HEAR_tour, or at gatherhere.com. We can't wait. We're so excited to have you here with us in just a few weeks, so soon.
Hey.
So Gather Here Portland is coming up on Saturday, September 28th at 2 p.m. in Congress Square Park in downtown Portland. This is a free outdoor concert, so more information is available on our website, portlandovations.org, and we hope to see you out there. We want to thank the New England Foundation for the Arts for their generous support of this program, and Friends of Congress Square Park for collaborating with us so wonderfully to bring this free community event right in the middle of downtown Portland. And thank you for listening to POV, the Portland Ovations podcast. Stay tuned. We have more stories and interviews coming this season to deepen your relationship with our artists and the performing arts. So thank you again, Miki.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.